Welcome, everyone. We are so excited to kick off Video at Scale with this panel with a couple of distinguished guests with us here today to talk about this crazy revolution that we are seeing with video creation through generative video. Generative video, as you all know, has created quite a stir in the last year in the video industry. I think a lot of people from our industry may agree that it has the potential to completely disrupt how we create videos in future, democratize creation across all skill levels. Well, jury is out there on whether we're already there or we're getting close to the world, but it's hard to distinguish if a video is AI generated. And that is what we'll talk about today. I'm stoked to have with me today a couple of leaders who are at this very bleeding edge in the space of video generative models, advancing this cutting edge domain at the intersection of video and AI. My name is Abhinav Kapoor. I work on video infrastructure at Meta, and I'd like to introduce our guest for the day. Our first guest is Amit Jain, the CEO and founder of one of the top innovators in the generative video space, Luma AI. Welcome, Amit. Thanks a lot for joining us today.
Yeah, Abhinav, thanks for having me here.
Yeah, great to have you today. I'd also like to introduce our second guest, Peter Wajda, Director of Engineering for MovieGen, which is Meta's suite of models for generative video. Thanks for joining us, Peter.
Hi, good morning. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun chat today. It's a topic that has been pretty exciting for a lot of people in our video industry. So Amit, we'll maybe start with you first. Tell us a little bit about your journey with Luma, about Dream Machine. I believe that's the model Luma launched early, like around summertime. I'd love to know about your journey all the way into the launch.
Absolutely. Luma was founded on the belief that we need to build basically the next generation of AI that needs to be very visual, that needs to be something that interacts with people, how people interact with each other. And we started with this idea in the land of 3D when video was completely untrainable in 2022. And as we build infrastructure as the industry, as we got H100 GPUs, as better encoders came about, we realized that okay, it's time now that video can be trained upon. So in early 2023 to mid 2023, about that time, we started on this project that video should be fully generated and not from an image backbone, but actually as a first-class network architecture that processes, learns on, and generates video. And our first iteration of that, which is actually a very small model, is Dream Machine, or Dream Machine 1, that was released late June of 2024. And we cannot be more thrilled from the reception that it got. The early days when we started to roll out Dream Machine, we thought very few people would care about this because what did we know? But here we are today. We are at about 25 million users for Dream Machine, which is an order of magnitude more than what we anticipated, and it is being used in many different scenarios that I'm extremely proud of. So yeah, we continue to push on it, and we are very excited about this feature.
So tell us some of the innovations you might be most proud of. Like, what are the areas that you think Dream Machine stands out, and where are you seeing people talk about that? I think we've heard people talk about the first generation of Dream Machine. I'm sure there are like other areas that you're proud of the innovation that's happening in Luma.
Absolutely. So the fast generation, the iteration times, how it generates, they're all part of the theme. We think that this next generation of AI will be something that partners with you and helps you express what is in your head. So let me tell you what I mean by that. In words, most of us are able to express quite a few things, but what I say and what you interpret in your head is very different because we come from very different backgrounds. On the other hand, visuals, you see what I see, and we are on the same page. I think With generative video, with generative images, with generative visuals in general, we have the opportunity to make happen what happened with text and Word documents, right? Like, how easily we can edit, how easily we can express what we are thinking about. We need to make the same thing happen for vision, for that kind of expression. And that will lead to new outcomes in storytelling and new outcomes or new heights, honestly, in how humans talk to each other. So we have paid a lot of attention to how fast we can make these models and counter to language models. Video models are very complex and there's a lot of compute happening, like, frame after frame after frame. It looks like, oh yeah, it's a 10-second video, but 24 frames per second, it's generating 240 frames. So 240 images that it has to generate. When we started this project, it used to take about 200 seconds to do that. Today, the version of Dream Machine that's online takes 19.2 seconds to do that. And it's for the same model without reducing any quality of it. And I'm immensely proud of the work we did there. But also, it's really important in that it's not just a clip generator, right? Like it needs to express an idea. It needs to express a thing that is in your head. And as these videos get longer, we need to think deeply about causality in them, and we need to think about how do we have a sequence of events that actually convey something. So I'm really excited about the work that we're doing in that area on generating longer videos, but also generating them to have meaning inside them. And then that actually comes down to the intelligence of these models. So yeah, we continue to build intelligence in video, and we'll see some fruits bear out from that very soon.
That's great. I think one of the other areas people talked about is the depth in Dream Machines videos is pretty good. Is that something to do with your background in nerves? I know like Duma started with nerves, and so is that helping you in creating video with better depth?
Absolutely. Not just depth. So, Luma, we have a nerve capture app on the App Store that we released in the early days because we had this very strong conviction that the future doesn't look like, a model trained on video, a model trained on images, a model trained on text. The future looks like a model that has learned from all these concepts together. And one of those concepts is that the universe, our world around us, is actually 3D. So we released an app that is actually really, really fun to use, and it allows people to capture their scenes and environment in 3D. And then, you can just in post, you go around and look around. It's like, oh wow, this is how the world looks like. So we gather an immense amount of 3D data. By some estimates, actually, we gather more in a month than the all aggregate of 3D data that humanity has had before. And this is natural data that people capture in their real life environments from all across the world. And this has helped us immensely in building things like camera control in the app and teaching the model about this 3D nature of the app and some really exciting features that come out in the future models, basically.
That's great, thanks. Peter, would love to know more about MovieGen. Like, what are some of the innovations in MovieGen that you're most proud of? Tell us more.
Yeah, hey. So we started this MovieGen research project to scale up media generation models, and then to achieve state-of-the-art image and video generation along the way. It's become many of the different models based on the same backbone that we generated, like image generation. It turned out like good video generation, audio generation, as well as video editing, and personalization, which is like character consistent video generation. So we are pretty proud of the outcome of this research project, which become actually the state-of-the-art generation models with many of these modalities, as well the new capabilities that introduce like this personalization with the consistent characters. So besides that, we are particularly proud actually on releasing the detailed technical report, how we developed, how we did actually this MovieGen research, and then all the insights and then very detailed architects actually are inside this paper. So that's hopefully help like community to moving forward actually as well.
Yeah, like I think personalization is one of the key differentiators for MovieGen. I believe like video, audio synchronization with video. So yeah, it's great to see the traction. Peter, maybe switching gears to talk about quality of these models. I'm sure a lot goes to ensure the model is ready to launch. Besides beta feedback, how do you ensure the quality meets the bar for Meta, and before you go and launch, are you looking at subjective evaluation methods? Are there objective ways of doing this? How do you ensure the quality generally is good before you're ready to roll out and launch?
Yeah, evaluation is very challenging, and then it's a very key important part actually of image and video generation, especially quality. And quality is very subjective, as we know. So we do many human evaluation along the way to test our models in metrics like visual quality, text faithfulness, motion quality, or consistency, and like many other axes actually which evaluated in human evaluation. There are some of the evaluation which can be automated, but quality is especially hard actually for that yet to come. So therefore, subjective evaluation actually is a key part. And especially when we start releasing some of these models, we really heavily rely on also on A/B tests, like in company-wide dog fooding. What are the feedback and impact or quality what we receive and from the users.
Amit, any thoughts from you on this quality side? How do you ensure the quality of the models are good in production? I know Dream Fusion is already out there in production. How do you keep track of quality in the wild in production, or even before you launch something?
Yeah, I think it's a very hard problem. And it's very unlike your regular software where, like, you have a checklist of things that QA can go through. And if it works, right? In generative model space or in language, text, video, images, whatever you think about, the space that you need to test and work with is so vast, it's unbelievable. And model to model, even when you fine-tune the model or you train an incremental version on top of it, data distribution can change so significantly or maybe so subtly that you might not even notice that, for a particular set of users, now the model performs very poorly. So we have had to basically learn that lesson and think through it very deeply. So now what we do is, in addition to, of course, testing internally and doing a lot of work in making sure that, okay, we have a very good account of what are the major use cases and whether the model continues to deliver, and each incremental version or big version is actually a step up and does not cause regression. We also have a big group of users and testers that are part of our community. So, they use the models, early access models, like they're using, the product basically in the same interface, and they tell us when it is falling through. We have, I think that's the only way. Given the vast space of what is possible with these models, you just have to test with a lot of users. In that process, we are also building more automated pipelines from this feedback. So, maybe we don't have to learn this lesson twice, so we don't repeat the mistake. But yeah, it's a very, very hard problem. And there's actually room in this space for a company to come in and help most of our model builders and AI startups to solve this problem a bit better.
Yeah, especially at scale, I believe it's even harder problem to solve, right? Because you need some objective measures to monitor this. It can't be all human rating.
Yeah,
doesn't scale.
But and Peter, please disagree with me if you don't think so. But in our field, there are no objective measures. At least in language, you can have okay, on this test, how well does it perform, right? In visuals, what is a wrong image? it's all human preference. And the aesthetics also change from region to region and language to language even, right? What Indians consider to be aesthetically good might be considered too noisy in the West. And so there is actually no objective measure. So the common term that is used across the industry is vibe score. And the best everyone does is human eval. Metrics like FID, SSIM, PSNR, they tell you something. Like if they're really low, or if they're on one side of the spectrum, these all have different scales. You can tell, okay, it's bad, but you just can't tell when it is good. And you especially cannot tell when it is great. So there's also a lot of research room in that area.
That's great. Tell us about the feedback you've gotten so far, Amit, from Dream Machine. Any good, any bad, overall, how do you feel about the launch?
Yeah. Oh, all kinds of it. So about 3 or 4 days after launch of Dream Machine, it made it to Good Morning America, which is ridiculous in retrospective. And I think the most important feedback for us has been how fun and casual people find it to be. You expect that's an image generation model, video generation model. It will be used mostly in very creative production studio settings, right? But our learning has been that actually people want to use these things to express what's in their head. Sometimes those are funny thoughts. Sometimes those are memes. Sometimes those are things they're doing for work. So that has been a huge learning for us. That has also given us a lot of direction. On the bad side of the world, of course, there's a lot of work to be done on quality, on how do we make these models very consistent so that they're able to tell a story, as I was mentioning earlier on. How do we make them even faster? 20 seconds for a 10-second video is just not fast enough. I think it needs to get way faster. How do we get to a place where, these are doing what you expect them to do? And I think the expect is a very critical word there, because people think the model should be so controllable and it does exactly what I tell it to do. But people are really bad at telling things. That's why we have programming languages, right? Because if we just told computers what to do, I think planes will fall off the sky. So models need to do what people expect them to do in their head, not what they're telling them to do in their head. And so that's another level of prompt adherence and prompt following and instruction tuning that we have to achieve, and we continue to work on that. But yeah, the feedback has been overwhelmingly amazing, but also there's a lot of work to do.
Great, thanks. Peter, what about MovieGen? What sort of feedback you're getting from the community? I know it's not publicly launched yet, but are we doing some beta testing, and are we getting some feedback from the community?
Yeah, actually, my favorite feedback is I hate AI. This is a title actually of an external movie. We had pretty amazing videos from external directors, including Anish, who created a very inspiring video titled I Hate AI, with 8 in it. This is a pretty amazing video trying to tell a story about how to use AI and help movie creation actually along the way. So some of this actually also shared in my Facebook. It's pretty amazing video to watch. So please check it out. Also, we get very good feedback about our detailed paper that we released, especially from the research community and academia. It was very good to see actually a very open paper with all the details out there. So we are very proud of that.
Great. So generative video is already disrupting markets, right? And Amit, you're obviously making a bold bet on this with Duma AI, but I'm sure there is a lot to be figured out. Tell us, how do you see this landscape evolve? Where do you think we will be in 2 to 3 years' time?
Yeah. So first thing that I think people should expect is that there's going to be a rapid state of progress. It took a minute to get all the building blocks in place. And video training, pre-training on video is a very hard problem. Peter, I don't know what your experience has been at Meta, but it is a very different set of fundamentals. The scale of data that you work with is compared to language models and what most of the infrastructure today is built for is unbelievable. Scale of data in video. And but those things are in place. At least at the top labs like Luma, these things are very well and figured out. And now we are on version 3, version 4 of like each pipeline. So we're actually very excited about how fast we're able to make progress and what will happen. So let's project out a little bit of like what happens when you have this computer that is able to show you anything that you're thinking about or anything that you want to express. I think for the next billion users of AI, this is the modality. Of course, text is very powerful, but I just don't see a future where every one of us is talking to our computers in novels, right? Like, text interactions, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I think it's going to become increasingly richer. What happened to computers? We had DOS, and to audience who are not familiar with DOS, I learned recently, some people don't know what DOS is. Terminal. So we used to have computers that was just a screen and green text, and you would type and it would type back, and you would type and it would type back. Then in 1995, we got Windows 95. It was GUI, and before that, Mac OS. So we made that transition in computing. AI is the future of computing, and we are very quickly going to make that transition. And in that world, what we need to build to make that world happen, first of all, is this next generation of AI, right? Like I keep saying it, but this next generation of AI where visuals, intelligence, perception is all together. And for people, that looks like a very interesting world, right? Like you can tell your stories, you're able to express what you're thinking much more clearly. You're able to get it out of your head and ideate on it, right? Human brain is a very good classifier, but human brain is not a good generator, by the way, right? So you're able to get it out, ideate, build on it, like see the world how you imagine in your head in front of you, and then show it to other people. I think that will have a huge lift in what people do, how they do their work, how our world looks like, those kind of things. So yeah, I'm very excited for that. I'm very excited for what it does to daily work and lives of people. I'm very excited for what it does to entertainment. No more this big giant budget things which cater to the lowest common denominator, but instead, we'll have things you and I like, only or I like, or my friends like. I think that will be a very fun time. So yeah, I'm very excited for
that. That's awesome. Peter, how about Movie Gen? Where do you see it evolve over the next few years, 2 to 3 year time span? What do you think we'll see next in Movie Gen? And maybe another counter to it, what you'd like to see?
Yeah, I'm fully agree actually what we discussed before as well. It's very fast-facing technology. But I would like to bet with you that Gen AI will win the next Oscar in the next 3 years. That's gonna be one of the very great achievement actually in Gen AI video generation in the next 3 years. And then same as before, scaling hardware evolves, infrastructure evolves, and how scaling the model is gonna be more capable. As well, in the other side, what we started discussing about efficiency. So all these models gonna be able to run actually on very efficiently, very fast, also on mobile device later on. So this is gonna be enable you to everyday use of some of these generation models, which is super amazing, exciting to see.
That's great. And maybe switching to another probably an important problem to deal with in the generative video space, and that's safety, right? I'm sure safety is an important problem to solve, and it's also a pretty hard problem to solve. How do you think about ensuring safety in what these AI models are generating today? And do you think it's the responsibility of the model developers or the content creator? I'd love to know, Peter, maybe starting with you with Movie Gen, How, how are you thinking about safety in general?
Yeah, it's a very, very important topic, especially in generation. Like model services should always be safe to use. And then that's what we are hold the bar for as well. So we build safety from the very start of the problem or the project, incorporating the right data, also all the right guardrails. And then when we start releasing the model before we do run a red teaming to make sure that all the issues actually coming up, even before getting any models out there. And then solving these issues, we do usually a company-wide dog fooding, which receiving lots of feedbacks, again, issues, what we can fix, why we start scaling to external users and then releasing external models along the way gradually. So if there is any strong feedbacks, we can adapt actually, and then we can update on that. But safety is the most important things where we are actually developing some of these models, and we keep in mind on that.
That's great to hear. Amit, do you think that's something we as model developers should be thinking about, worrying about? What's your stand on safety?
Yeah, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
And I think the mental model to think about generative AI for me is that it's an amplifying technology. You could definitely do a lot of things with software, and it scaled a lot. But now you can do that at an exponentially large scale. So, as an industry, as individual companies, and as a society, there's a lot of work to do on that front. As the companies, and Peter, I completely agree with you on everything you said. Right? It starts with the data that you start to train with. It starts with what you include in the model training. How do you make sure that the model just does not learn harmful behaviors from early on? These are large, large networks. So in post, you do a lot of work in making sure that there are guardrails in place on what it generates, what users are able to prompt it with, because people are infinitely creative and they will try to find ways around things. So it's a constantly evolving system. And that is the way to think about it. It's not a silver bullet where there's one solution, you're done, and then it's just baked in, and then it's all completely done. It's a system. Just like with software, now we are 40 years into it. We are still building tools, building mitigations, learning about threat vectors. This will continue for AI as well. So it's pretty early in the age of in the evolution of this industry. And we have already learned a few lessons, we should be red teaming. We should be making sure that these known things it should not be able to do. There's a lot of moderation you can do in post on the generated outputs, these kind of things. But now we have to figure out societally what is considered great and what is considered okay, let's not use this technology for this particular thing. And so we will build those systems. We are building those systems, and I think they'll continue to evolve.
What are some of the other harder problems to solve besides safety? Like, are there technical challenges that you think our audience today needs to look into or should be excited to go and solve? Are these video problems? Are these AI problems or scale problems? What are the interesting areas or challenges, technical challenges, do you think the community needs to solve over the next years? Amit, maybe start with you.
Yeah, I think we need to start thinking about the level of intelligence that is in these models to make them more useful. We need to build models that are frankly intelligent. In language models, it is very easy to assess whether something is or is not, right? But in pixel space, as an industry, I think that's a really, really important thing to think about. This is what will make it truly useful versus a tool for making clips versus a tool for making small little shorts. Of course, infrastructure is today's video models are very small compared to language models. They are, an order of magnitude smaller, if not 2 orders of magnitude smaller. In diffusion space, you do actually devote a lot of compute, so because you do 30 or 50 steps. So like at inference time, you actually do use a lot more compute. So you can maybe make up for that in a little bit of the order of magnitude deficit there. But still, the representation capacity of these models is smaller than what we see in language models, and I think we need to scale that up. Just like a small language model, it can make a good, decent sentence. But when you go for a full paragraph or a short story, a small language model loses track of things, right? Like, there's no consistency. And when you go to a 70B or 405B or 1 trillion parameter model, that changes the game, right? Like, it's like there's a lot of consistency, it has memory, all those kind of things. In video, it's not that different, honestly. It's still transformers, and we need to scale, we need to make them faster at the same time. So I think these are really, really exciting challenges. They're systems challenges, but they're also theoretical research challenges. I think this is one very, very important thing across generative AI industry that people should remember. I hear a lot of narrative that Gen AI is infrastructure, and like it's solved. We just need to now bury it into boxes, into servers, and access it through APIs. I think that's okay, but what people are missing is that this technology is very new. There are major step function changes that are still to be had from research. Like if people think like, models are fungible, they're going to be everywhere, everyone's going to have the same thing. I don't think they're imagining the future. I don't think they actually know what is happening in theoretical research side, what's happening in top companies, what people are thinking about the future. So there are huge step function changes that are coming in all these axes and then some more. And I think we should all be very excited for that, but also not lose sight that the game still has to be played.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot is remaining to be solved here. Peter, what about movie gen? Like, what are some of the areas do you think challenges remain to solve over the next few years?
Yeah, I fully agree with all of those statements. Like, we are in super early, actually, in video generation effort. You can imagine like what happened 1 year ago. 1 year ago, it was just pure research, video generation, gimmicky results happened, and then now, even in production and even in user hands, actually, you can see very great actually videos. But it's super early, and then it's moving super fast. So I'm very excited about this because it means like it has full of challenges along the way. The most important things actually there, also we showed in MovieGen paper, is the scaling. Like with scaling for 30 billion parameter model and then further, and then we don't see the end. Like definitely larger models actually perform and bring new capabilities. And then we are very far from the end. And then the opposite side, like efficiency, like creating these models in the research of huge, very great actually video generation models into the room of like couple of seconds to generate. That would be super amazing to see, as well training time and compute. So infrastructure scaling is a key part. And then one of the most important things is to creating a useful and efficient product is super hard. And then that's still, because the field is very new, people and then Meta is also trying to figure out what is the really useful, very good, like a product, what can serve the users.
Great. Now, for maybe a fun twist to this, let's say we had a magic wand with us. What do you think we'd like to see happen in the space? How would you use your magic wand to change or to take generative video to the next level? Peter, maybe start with you on this one.
I love this question. Thank you. Like I would use the magic wand to get infinite compute for Christmas. Either GPUs, ASIC, or whatever infrastructure and then hardware, but infinite compute actually would accelerate a lot of the progress, and then it would create very exciting world. So definitely, I hope for everyone a lot of compute for Christmas, and it would be very impactful. Uh,
Yeah,
result.
what a great gift for Christmas. Amit, what do
Yeah.
you think? How would you use your magic wand?
So see, if you give me a magic wand, I will do a lot of things with it. I would basically go to make humanity a Kardashev level 2 civilization. So we have a Dyson sphere around the sun, and we are able to harness most of the energy of that star. Um, and that would be very interesting to think about, how to scale compute to consume all that energy, right? You invert the problem on its head. We're not energy constrained anymore. Um, yeah, that would be very fun, right? Basically, having infinite energy and being able to see what is computable and what isn't computable. I think, and then coming back to more the question you wanted to ask, for video, for AI in general, I think, if I had a magic wand, I think I would basically work a lot harder on thinking about how do we make learning a lot more efficient. It's 100% doable. We see a lot of evidence of that in our own work at Luma, where we have been able to make multiple integer times improvements in our training time, in our training compute, and then by corollary of that, able to train even bigger things. I think there's a lot of headroom at the bottom, and not just in system side, but in research side as well. And then if I had a magic wand, basically that's what I would do, so that we can train even bigger, more capable things and make more useful things for people.
That's great. I think that's all the time we had for today. Thank you both for giving your precious time to enlighten us today and sharing your insight and excitement with the video community today. I think this is probably a momentous occasion to have both of you here, because I don't know if there was another stage where we had two leaders in the generative video space in the same panel. So really appreciate you both coming today. And again, thank you for joining. And next, we move into our next segment for Video at Scale, which is our talks of the day. And for that, I'll hand over to Diana. Thanks, everyone.